the Commission. Our role as the Commission is to establish the truth regarding what happened on the 5th and the 6th of December 2024 at Montagne Posée prison. And we may also want to understand facts regarding events connected to that particular incident. So let me allow quickly the fellow commissioners to introduce themselves for the record, and then we'll take it from there.
I am Melchior Vinod.
Victor.
On our left is Ms. Chelsea Albest, who is the secretary for the commission. I'm now going to ask her to administer the oath, and then we will take your evidence.
Should I stand?
Yes.
Are you a Christian or do you follow another denomination?
I am a Muslim.
Thank you. So if you can kindly repeat after me, please. I solemnly and sincerely confirm
that the evidence
I shall give to this commission shall be the truth, the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you so much, Ms. Africa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Ms. Chelsea Albest, and thank you, Mr. Ahmed Afif. So I will just remind you of a few rules that guide us and you also in this process. One is the obligation that you have to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, as per the oath that you have taken. And then secondly, to remind you to answer the questions as they are asked by the commissioners. It may be that sometimes the questions sound similar or repetitive, but you are still required to answer them as they are asked. Then thirdly, to remind you to treat everyone with dignity, including persons who you are going to name or you may name in your testimony. Then just a reminder also for everyone in the room to refrain from interrupting the witness. So that means please keep your phones on complete silence or switch them off. Minimize movements in and outside of the room. And I know that there are also observers in the room sometimes. Please avoid even making non-verbal communications, especially regarding what is happening here. So just observe, be silent, and respect the witness and respect the process. Thank you very much. So the way we are going to ask you questions, Mr. Afif, is that we will take turns to ask you the questions that for which the answers we need from you. In this case, I will ask you a few questions, and then the commissioners will take it from there.
Can I ask that I speak in Creole?
Yes.
Please.
I think that is fine. I will just ask that when you answer the question, you give the translator, the interpreter, an opportunity to interpret. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other question you might have? Okay. Did you want to say?
No,
okay.
that's good.
All right. So I think we may begin. So when were you appointed? Okay. First, confirm that you were the vice president during this period that we are inquiring, particularly 5 and 6 December 2024.
Mon confirmé. Bonjour, d'abord, bon commissionnaire. Moi ici pour moi faire mon tour pour moi répondre aux questions et moi pour répondre par raison de demander. Mon confirmé qui mon vice-président de la République à partir d'octobre 2020 jusqu'à octobre 2025.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am here to answer all questions as being asked, and I do confirm that I was the Vice President during the period of October 2020 to October 2025.
Okay, thank you very much. And maybe would you just describe, broadly speaking, what your duties as the Vice President involved?
Mon ouvrage comme vice-président, c'est tout d'abord pour assister le président dans son fonction.
First of all is to assist the President with all his functions.
Et quotidiennement, responsabilité pour moi décharger certaines fonctions, mon décharger et une fonction spécifique qui est dans moi, c'était pour responsable d'ICT et l'information en général.
So whereby he gives me specific instruction for any specific responsibilities that he requires me to do, so I will do so. And anything specific instructions that he gave me was to be responsible for the ICT and information in general.
The ICT and
the ICT, c'est le département l'informatique et technologie communication.
It's the Department of Information and Communications and Technology.
Okay, I think I might want you to take that again.
The DICT, it stands for the Department of Information, Communication and Technology.
Okay. It's a department in government. Okay, what does this department do, broadly speaking?
Ce département, son fonction, c'est pour assurer qu'il y en a un système informatique qui peut fonctionner au niveau gouvernement et pour donner tout support nécessaire. En même temps, il est aussi, à l'époque, responsable pour policier vis-à-vis l'informatique dans le pays. Et c'était lui qui t'a implémenté. Et de l'autre côté aussi, dans cette époque, il y a une responsabilité pour télécommunications. Ça veut dire que c'était lui qui était régulateur pour le secteur télécommunications. Ça veut dire donne licence, par exemple, un opérateur télécommunications. Mais au fur et à mesure, les temps allés, ça a changé et nous avons une autorité qui est responsable pour ça.
Break your answer so that he can have time to translate.
This is here to make sure that there are the information system in Seychelles functions properly in the government itself. And they are the one that is responsible for the policy making of information in the country and how it is implemented also, and the regulating telecommunications for these specific operators by giving them license also as well.
You can continue because
Okay.
I stopped him.
Okay, you may want to continue.
Yes, well, ça qui m'a expliqué, c'était ça son rôle, mais ensuite, nous y passons la loi.
That is the role, but afterwards there was a law that was passed.
Et ça, la loi, qui établit l'autorité pour télécommunication.
And that law established an authority for telecommunication.
Okay.
Et alors, sa responsabilité pour faire régulation dans la télécommunication, pas vient directement en bas moi, mais moi, en supervision à travers sa l'autorité.
So that responsibility did not fall directly under me, but I had supervision for the operation of that.
Okay. And on the 5th of December 2024, you were the acting president.
Il est correct que le 5 décembre, mon petit Piazzi et mon petit prend bonne fonction président à cause du parti dans le pays.
Yes, it's correct that the 5th of December I was acting and assuming the functions of the president because he was not in the jurisdiction.
In the event that you are the acting president and there is an emergency in the country, what is the protocol? How do you communicate with the president? Do you manage it and communicate later? what is their protocol on dealing with emergencies?
Normalement, les présidents, ils pas d'un pays, ils donnent son fonction avec son vice-président.
Normally, when the president is not in the jurisdiction, his functions is given to the vice president.
Mon dépend le vice-président présent.
And I think it depends on the vice president and on the situations.
Pour lui consulter et demander peut-être guidance avec le président de certaines situations.
For him to consult and ask guidance in certain situations to the president.
I see. And let's go back to the responsibility you were assigned on the Department of Information, Communications and Technology. How long did you oversee that department? For how long?
Je suis responsable pour ce département pendant 5 ans.
I was responsible for that department for 5 years.
For 5 years. So that would be from the time the government led by President Ramkalawan was elected to the end of his term.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Just one thing, maybe Mr. Afi, if you could speak a bit louder, because I find him struggling trying to understand you.
Apologize.
No, that's fine. Okay, so 5 years. Would in this department that you are talking about, would it also be responsible for making sure that critical in other jurisdictions they call them national key points, which is critical places like State House, military bases, are digitally secure?
Nous n'avons pas une autorité centrale pour ça. Et nous plutôt dépend de différentes entités pour autres aides, pour sécurité.
We did not have a central authority for that, but we mainly depended on several entities to manage.
So, but I take that point that the department is not responsible for everything, but you mentioned that the department is responsible for policy making. So there would be a policy that speaks to the digital security for national strategic facilities. So are you agreeing with me about, because I see that you are non-verbally communicating?
Mon tellement d'accord avec vous que nous sommes aussi responsables indirectement pour sécurité l'informatique dans nos pays, mais seulement nos rôles comme département de l'information c'est spécifique pour le gouvernement. Et jusqu'à aujourd'hui, nous n'avons pas l'autorité qui est responsable, par exemple, pour l'informatique et la sécurité nationale. Et par exemple, si vous payez sécurité pour la banque,
so
nous n'avons pas l'autorité.
I would agree entirely with you that indirectly we did not have information security for the country, but that's specific for the government. But sorry pour répondre à la dernière bout que tu peux dire, s'il vous plaît.
Seulement, nous sentons pour dire important et nous pouvons travailler dans une provision pendant un encadrement qui peut couvrir tout bon risque l'informatique nationale.
But we feel and felt it necessary to have something in place to be able to take care of all the information that has to do on a national basis.
That's correct. Did you, in the 5 years that you were vice president for the Republic, were you at any point assigned an obligation to deal with security of the country?
Non, pas spécifiquement, mon ti n'a pas aucune responsabilité sécurité, mais seulement mon ti comme vice-président, souvent une fois président tient climat de bonne réunion côté il discute bonne quelque chose sécurité pour la simple raison qui souvent une fois dans son absence mon pour besoin aussi en a une responsabilité dans ce niveau. Alors, mon petit gars garde au courant de quelque chose. Mon petit n'a pas une responsabilité spécifique dans la sécurité.
No, I did not have a specific responsibility towards that, but there would be times whereby the president would invite me and discuss these specific security issues, considering the fact that during his absence, I would be the one that would be taking charge of certain aspects of the security.
So would I be correct that you, in one way or another, on one occasion or multiple occasions, would have discussed with the president this arrangement where the soldiers would be deployed to help the police to conduct civilian operations or to enforce the law?
Non, mon pas pour jamais impliqué dans une décision côté au besoin implique militaire avec la police, etc. Mais seulement comme vice-président, mon au courant, mon gagne mettait au courant parfois les bonnes l'opération PMAC et mon compte son principe, mais seulement mon pas jamais dans l'opération.
No, I would never be implicated in decisions that would implicate the military or the police, but as vice president, I would be aware of certain of these information about this.
Okay, no, that is fine. And the information you would be aware of, does it include any challenges regarding joint operations or the coordination of joint operations between police and the soldiers?
Non, je ne suis pas au courant si tu n'as aucun challenge ou bien défi dans sa bonne. Je connais, ça qui m'a au courant, c'était moi qui t'amène 10e l'amendement Constitution pour permettre justement que la police est capable, dans certaines instances, de demander l'assistance avec militaires dans certaines opérations. C'était moi qui emmène ça la loi devant l'Assemblée nationale. Alors, mon courant ça.
No, I would not be aware of that. What I am aware is that I was the one that brought the 10th Amendment of the Constitution to allow that whenever need be, the military need the police to assist them in certain operations, they were able to do so through the 10th Amendment. That I am aware.
On t'a content d'ajouter que raison ça l'amendement qui passé, c'était simplement pour régulariser ça qui peut déjà arriver.
I would like to just
add rien nouveau, mais c'est pas nous régulariser dans la loi.
That the 10th Amendment was initiated was to regulate what was already happening.
Et m'a donné l'exemple, avant nous les temps, Coast Guard, qui forme partie militaire, qui peut intervenir dans la mer pour l'opération anti-narcotique, par exemple.
An example, before our time, the Coast Guard, which is part of the military, was assisting with operations at sea that had to do with anti-narcotics.
Et qui tient responsabilité la police.
And that was a responsibility for the police.
No, I think we do agree with you as a commission that the 10th Amendment was, to some extent, confirming what already was provided for in the legislation. Okay, so I'm asking you this question, Mr. Afif, because part of what we are grappling with here is the challenges with respect to how the military and the police, or the different security forces, let's put it that way, coordinate when conducting joint operations. And so the question that I'm asking you is, or with that background, the question is, in your government, was there any time that you discussed challenges that speak to coordination amongst security departments, in this case the police, the prison services, the military, coordination when they are undertaking a joint operation? Is there any time that these challenges were discussed?
Je ne sais pas quoi, il y en a un instant qu'il n'y a aucun challenge as such. C'est le moment au courant, bonne discussion, quand zotin autre façon de travail pour mieux aider la police capable de ça à son fonction en servant les autres ressources gouvernement pareil militaire.
I am unaware if there were instances that there was any challenge, but I am aware that there were discussions about how to raise the effectiveness of the police with dealing with these sorts of situations.
Et si vous permettez-moi de donner l'exemple, Zotana, côté State House, il y en a ça qui s'appelle Presidential Security Unit.
Just to give an example, at State House there is what they called at that time as the Presidential Security Unit.
Après, ça qui m'a aussi comprend, il y en a un unit qui est Special Ops.
And from what I understand also is that there is a unit by the name of Special Ops.
Et Special Ops, tous les deux units, en effet, ont compris des soldats.
And both unit comprises of soldiers.
Qui ont employés, c'est la force défense.
And they are employed with the Seychelles Defense Force.
Mais seulement sa unit spéciale, Special Ops, est plutôt focalisé l'opération anti-narcotique, par exemple.
But the unit Special Ops are mainly concentrated with operations to do with anti-narcotics.
Et parfois, ça qu'ils ont aussi fait, ensemble avec Presidential Security, ils travaillent de près, ça qui me comprend, c'est que si on a un chef d'État qui vient de Seychelles, il a besoin de la force spéciale. Et tous les deux units, ils servent de soldats spécialisés. Et c'était une autre fonction aussi pour faire sécurité, qui appelle close protection, pour président ou bien président qui peut visiter Seychelles.
And they also work jointly with the other unit. They work jointly together, and these two teams, two units, they had specialized soldiers, individual with special trainings, and sometimes they would do security also. We call that close protection for the president.
Et ça, si mon cas ça ajoute un dernier point, normalement sa qualité de protection est gagnée offerte par la police, par exemple, pour une visiting, une délégation spéciale au niveau qui peut visiter, mais seulement à cause qualité de l'entraînement qui ça les officiers sont meilleurs équipés pour assister la police dans sa bonne l'ouvrage.
And just to add that normally for the visiting delegations that comes in the country, this responsibility goes to the police force, but these soldiers in particular have been specially trained for these kinds of protection, so they assist the police.
Okay. So when the soldiers are deployed to assist the police in enforcing, in law enforcement, who do the soldiers report to during that operation?
Mon imaginez bon soldat qui travaille au Presidential Security Unit, ils pour rapport avec les autres commandants, et bon, les autres soldats, ils gagnent assign. Ça qui me comprend, ils gagnent assign avec sa unit pour faire certains travail qui appelle Special Ops. Mais c'est moi toujours tombé en commande militaire SDF lui-même.
I would like to think that it is their commander that they respond to, answer to, and for the other soldiers, the particular unit that they are assigned with, for example, the specialized ops, it would be the unit that they have been assigned with the commander in charge of that unit.
So just so that I'm understanding you properly, so if the soldiers have been deployed to go and assist the police, they would operationally be under the management of the police for that operation. So if they are deployed to go and assist the prisons, they would also be under the management of the prisons.
Mon comprends pour tout le temps en bas commande la police parce que autres ils ont demandé pour assister dans n'importe quelle situation. Pareil, ça l'exemple coupé dans moi. Si la police ils demande autres pour assister, autres offrent l'assistance. Autres rester toujours en bas commande la police.
I understand that they will always remain under the command of the police because if the police has requested their assistance, from what I understand, they will always be under their command.
Yeah. I think that is consistent with the law. Is in your experiences or during your time as vice president, was this always the case, or you had instances where things didn't go, or things didn't happen like that, and you as a government had to intervene and correct?
Non, mon pas rappelé aucune situation quand il y a un conflit. Certainement, il y en a beaucoup d'opérations qui ont fait citoyens anti-narcotiques. C'est la police qui dirige l'opération.
I do not recall any situation whereby there was any conflict. Certainly, there has been many anti-narcotics operation, which is the police that are the ones that are usually responsible for that.
So, in your view, there would never be a situation where an operation is conducted jointly between the police and the military, or between the military, the police, and the prisons, and it's not clear who the leader of that operation is. It's impossible, right?
Well, dans la pratique, mon pas capable de dire aussi n'arriver. Il est possible d'arriver de n'importe quelle opération, mais seulement l'intention et certainement ça qui m'ont connaît, ça qui m'ont au courant une passé, c'est tout le temps bas commande la police.
I cannot tell you if it had happened or not, but from what I know is that every time it's the police that is.
It's the police that lead if it's a law enforcement, civilian law enforcement. Okay. Did you, now going back to the Department of Information, Communication and Technology, because when we're talking about communication in the time that you were vice president, a lot of it has to do with digital communication. Did you as a government pay attention to that?
Oui, nous sommes certainement actifs avec la police en particulier pour faire ici qu'ils ont l'équipement, l'informatique, système qui peut marcher. Et alors, par exemple, tu as une caméra qui peut marcher, là, nous sommes venus, nous faisons les autres marcher. Après, c'est l'État, on ne sait pas qui sont l'État là aujourd'hui. Les autres systèmes informatiques lui-même, nous donnons à travers DICT toute l'assistance pour nous aider, tout ça, l'agence gouvernement pour faire les autres marcher.
Yes, we were active with the police to make sure that the equipments, information equipments, were working. For example, there were cameras that were not in operation. We made them operational, and we made sure that the information system was working well.
Were you satisfied that the key national key points or strategic facilities in the Republic have cameras?
Mon pas capable de dire mon satisfait entièrement à cause mon senti pour dire qu'il y a plusieurs défaillances dans le sens que département de l'information pas tout le temps en contrôle le tout bon endroit stratégique.
I cannot say that I am fully satisfied. I would say that there were several weaknesses in the sense that I do not think that or they had a camera system in all the strategic departments.
Are you aware of any evaluations that were done by government to take stock of the strategic facilities in the country that are let's call them adequately digitally secured, because it's not just about cameras, it's about a lot of other things that some of them cannot be discussed on TV as well. But was there an audit that you are aware of to just establish where the state of affairs in terms of areas that need more capacity in terms of digital security and areas that you as a government are satisfied that adequate work has been done?
Certainement, il y a une étude qui a fait dans mon État, et nous avons l'assistance avec le gouvernement anglais pour faire une étude pour établir ce qui s'appelle un weak point dans nos systèmes.
Certainly, there was studies that had been done. We had a study that was done by the government of England to study weak points.
Et l'intention, c'était pour faire recommandation suivant ça, un meilleur encadrement du système pour adresser sa bonne faiblesse.
And the intention was to make a recommendation just to specifically address those particular weaknesses.
Okay. I think I will end here for now. And you have follow-up questions? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Afif, we just joked earlier. He says that the last time we met was at a quiz program. Yeah, nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you.
I would just want to ask you, Mr. Afif, were you a member of the Defense Forces Council?
Mon pas membre Defense Council, seulement moi suis invité pour assister à un meeting conseil Defense Council.
I was not a member, but I was invited to assist the meetings that was held by the council of the the council.
Okay. So when you attended the meetings, you were made aware of quite a lot of security aspects, because the Defense Council deals with security problems. So you were sort of aware of what was going on in the security field of the country.
Mon au courant, oui, certainement, le niveau Defense Council.
I was aware, yes, certainly, but on the level of the Defense Council.
Okay. Now, somewhere along your testimony, you mentioned that, in your opinion, you thought that any operations to do with narcotics or whatever it is would have been ideal for the police to deal with it. And obviously it was not the case. This is why you brought the 10th Amendment to get help from the military.
Mon moti dit pour dire normalement ce qu'on appelle law and order, l'ordre de la paix d'un pays, c'est responsabilité de la police. Mais seulement dans un petit pays, Paris c'est seul, souvent une fois, c'est l'autorité lui-même, il trouve beaucoup plus utile, l'est capable de joindre son force avec les autres, qui aussi en ont une responsabilité pour aider de ça son fonction. Et ça est normal.
Normally, what we call law and order in a country is the responsibility of the police, but in a small country like Seychelles, you would find that that authority may be more successful in accomplishing its duties when it joins forces with another entity that shares the same responsibility.
Et c'est pour la simple raison que pays petit et il manque de ressources. Et on n'est pas capable, par exemple, dans la police, faire un coast guard dans la police. Ou on est le Coast Guard, il tombe en militaire, il donne les coups de main. Pas qu'un Coast Guard la police avec un Coast Guard SDF.
And since the country is quite small, you cannot have a Coast Guard for the sake of resources. You cannot have a Coast Guard in the police force and then one in the military. You would have one in the military because of the resources issue that would assist the police when need be. You cannot have two.
Okay. Don't you think probably that it would have been good if the government would organize that the police trained other people, a group of people, to carry out those operations as police officers instead of military officers?
On croit que c'est souhaitable, certainement, pendant la police équipée avec des gens qui sont capables de faire ça l'ouvrage. Mais là, on regarde l'opération militaire, vu qu'ils ont déjà certains trainings spécialisés. Encore une fois, on voit aussi ça point qu'il y a un petit pays, si on traîne certains gens, aujourd'hui employés militaires dans certaines fonctions, qui sont capables d'utiliser dans l'opération de la police, peut-être nous trouvons les meilleurs pour servir les autres skills en bas supervision de la police. Et alors, ou réduire la dépendance pour le faire beaucoup de monde, plus que besoin pour faire ça l'ouvrage.
I would think that it can be a good thing if we had personnel from that the police would train, well equipped to be able to discharge these particular duties. But when you look at, again, a small country like ours with a military that already has people trained in that particular field, it is much more easier to reduce cost of having to get new people for the police to train, and this is much more easier to have the military personnel already available there to help when need be.
Mais c'est pas si nous avons toutes les ressources dans le monde. Mon quoi, ça que vous pouvez dire, c'est pas idéal.
But if we had all the resources in the world, I believe that what you are saying could be ideal.
Yeah, why I'm asking you this question is maybe your views as well, is taking into account the rules of engagement of the military. Would that not contradict an operation with the police where it concerns civilians?
Mon pas en connaissance militaire et qui m'a les autres rules of engagement, il m'a assez. Mon pas un officier militaire, mais seulement ça qui me connaît, c'est que si vous pouvez faire l'opération, bah commande la police, les rules of engagement, ils poursuivent ça qui la police y servi. Et alors, s'il n'y a pas de contradiction de sa façon, je crois que l'opération pour masse bien.
I do not have any knowledge about the rules of engagement of the military, but I believe that if they are performing duties under the police force, if the police require them to do duties, they would go according to the rules of engagement of the police. I do not think that there would be any contradictions if it is that manner.
Just a follow-up question on what he has asked and your answer. Perhaps this is where this question is coming from, that we have senior police officers who have indicated that sometimes it was just difficult to manage soldiers because soldiers don't perceive themselves as answerable to police officers. So I hear you that you are saying the law says the soldiers report to the police when they're doing a civilian operation. But that might not be the case.
Par contre, ça bonne situation que vous pouvez dire moi, mais seulement moi crois la clé là-dedans, c'est training que ça bonne dire mon gagne.
I don't know the situation you are referring to, but I know that the key is training. The key for that situation in particular is training.
Et ça briefing qui bon soldat qui peut assister la police, il gagne.
And the briefing that the soldiers are going to assist the police receives.
Et si autres gagne dit pour dire ou brief c'est ou tombe bas commande ça garde et ou suivre ça qui ça garde dit on pas quoi il prend en contradiction.
And if they are briefed that you fall under the command of that particular officer at the police department and you follow their direction, then I do not think that there would be any conflict or contradiction.
But you do appreciate that the training that the police have and those that the military will have, totally different training.
Mon comprend pour dire autres différents. Ça mon comprend.
I understand that they are different, yes.
And sometimes when they go on these operations, the police and the military, the different trainings that they have could clash.
Possiblement. Seulement mon pas jamais quand mettre au courant une situation quand il y a un clash sérieux ou bien quand il y a une difficulté qui met en jeu ça l'opération lui-même.
Possibly, but I've never been made aware of any situation whereby there had been a conflict or that an operation was put in jeopardy because of that situation.
But at a policy level, and there's the leadership of the government at the time, did you have a policy to check proactively and ensure that these possibilities don't happen?
On va capable répondre pour la police. Mon capable répondre ça qui moment observé dans le gouvernement. Nous on est la police qui peut faire son mieux avec commissionnaire par Bessalitan et les autres en tout qualité contrainte inclut contrainte financière, contrainte ressources lui-même, qualité des officiers qui ont mentalité des officiers qui ont bien sûr il y a très bons officiers mais probablement ils n'ont pas assez de monde compétent dans la force et
so
imagine ça pour tout le temps contrainte.
Answer for the police department, I can answer only from what I observed in the country, that the police did their very best that they could. I believe that the only constraint probably was with regards to the resources that they have, the finances, the quality of officers that they had, the mentality, attitude of the police officers. I believe that we had some very good police officers, but I just think that this is one of some of the constraints, probably.
So would you not be aware of concerns from the police commissioner at that time that he was struggling to coordinate some of these operations because the military or some people in the military were not following what the orders from the police?
Non, ça certainement mon pas au courant. Seulement mon connais pour dire la police un service à moi il peut struggle pour les capable faire tout ça qui est envie oui ça on croit les cas qu'on aujourd'hui apparemment dit autres ressources financières et
I am unaware, but I know that I can use the term that the police probably struggled for them to be able to accomplish what they were trying to accomplish. This is the...
Et moi, j'ai encore ajouté pour dire, moi, pas blâme la police, moi. À cause d'autres peut faire face avec une situation, c'est celle aujourd'hui, qui est différente avec celle qui était 20 ans passés ou bien 25 ans passés.
That I do not blame the police, that they are currently facing a situation in Seychelles that is different from the way things were before.
And anyway, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Commissioner of Police, the ex-Commissioner of Police came here and he indicated that he didn't find this arrangement ideal. Did he ever express that to the government?
Moi pas au courant, moi certainement pas avec moi qui ça une des adjuments pour dire ça l'arrangement pas paiement assez. On pas jamais senti pour dire pas paiement assez parce que tout peut faire plusieurs opérations en bas special ops, surtout anti-narcotique, qui est type masse. Autant qu'ils m'en connaissent assez bien, militaire, une saisi quantité de drogue dans sa dernière 5 ans, qui mon vice-président, mon rappel, et bonne l'opération qu'ils ont fait partout pour éliminer bon ghetto, par en masse de drogue, mais ils fait un joli nettoyage qui aujourd'hui, malheureusement, mon voix, il peut retourner par où avant.
So I certainly would not be aware. I never felt that it was not working because for several operations and the anti-narcotics operation, they were quite successful in seizing a huge amount of drugs, and they conducted several operations in the ghettos in those particular neighborhoods, whereby they cleaned out these entire areas. And this was during the time that I was vice president. I saw that they did all of that with regards to the anti-narcotics, especially the anti-narcotic.
And before I hand back to Commissioner Terrant, I think just to clarify that I don't think the view or the question we are asking is about whether these joint operations were successful or not, because they can be successful in, finding narcotics, prosecuting people and so forth, but it does not mean that in the course of doing their work they are also not violating other people's rights. So it is possible that they can go to the places that you are talking about. I think you referred to them as the ghettos. They can go there, or in any community, can sweep drugs out of that community, but perhaps also violate other people's rights. We have nothing to do with narcotics. And I think I just wanted to put that on record so that because we'll come back later with some questions that build on that.
Commissionnaire, moi, je suis content de dire, mon chairman d'accord avec ça qu'on dit. Et mon quoi pour dire, nous besoin dans la transparence, dans la façon, toutes les choses qui gagnent fait, nous besoin respect droit tout le monde. Et autant qu'ils m'en connaissent, nous ne respectons tout le monde. Et quand il y a un incident, quand le droit pas de respecter, il y a une institution dans ce pays qui est capable d'emmener sa bonne, qui ne viole sa bonne droit, emmène la justice pour bonne victime. Et ça, il devrait être tout le temps le cas.
To say, Commissioner, that I entirely agree with you that there needs to be transparency and that we need to respect people's rights, and that in the event that these rights in particular are not respected, there are particular entity in place for you to be able to bring these people that are breaching people's rights, and I believe that this should be the way of things.
Et mon cher content de s'ajouter que malheureusement aujourd'hui, moi pour dire ça peut disparaître. Il y en a un nouveau la loi, c'est pour l'information, qui peut passer, qui la police qui a montré ou pendant doit filmer lui, qui a fait ça qu'il est, et ou pendant doit rapporter, et sur le rapporter ou qui a condamné, etc. Et ça est plus grave qui me croit jamais déjà été.
To state that things are no longer the way it was, since there has been a new law in place, I would like to just place in your attention whereby the police has the right to just enter into people's home, and you have no right to film them or do anything, or else you will be criminally liable.
Yes.
Okay. No, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, Mr. Afif, there's one thing where we spoke about soldiers or forces carrying firearms to carry out operations with the police. Yeah, and apparently you said that this was carried out professionally, whereby the police, they take responsibility, or they order the people carrying firearms. But we had a case, I think it was way back, where I think 2 police officers or 1 police officer police officer in a roadblock fired firearms, and then the thing is, it shows that the people in control of this operation could not prevent this from happening. So this is why I'm talking about the rules of engagement of a person carrying a rifle, especially on a roadblock, loaded weapon. So don't you think this, as you mentioned, it's not correct? Because then the police officer does not have control of that person with a weapon.
Bon, si l'opération peut gagner fait, supposé en bas commande la police.
If an operation is being conducted, it should be under the command of the police.
Et si pas en bas commande la police, mon mazine, il pas la façon, ça l'opération, tu supposé gagner fait.
And if it's not under the command of the police, I would think that this is not the way the operation is supposed to be conducted.
So in your opinion, it was not correct?
Mon par contre, que l'incident coupe cause là, si hypothetical, mon m'a dit que pour dire, il suppose en bas commande la police, et si pas en bas commande la police, il devrait être une enquête pour établir à cause, peut-être il y a raison, mon par contre.
I do not know the incident that you are referring to. If it is a hypothetical incident, then I would say that it needs to be conducted by the police, the operation. And if it was not conducted by the police, then there needs to be an investigation in the matter. I do not know.
Yeah, we are not justifying what happened or what not happened. What I'm trying to say is that when people carry weapon and you've got another entity that is supposed to be giving orders, and they are not incompatible. They are not compatible with those guys that are carrying weapons, and it is something that is dangerous.
Pourquoi il est dangereux? Mais seulement il besoin d'un certain niveau de contrôle.
I think it is dangerous, but there needs to be a certain level of control.
Mais seulement mon besoin faire appel aussi commission pour dire il en a. Même avant nous les temps, beaucoup d'incidents, prisonniers sauvés, quand l'armée a crié pour venir regarder sa bonne situation, et c'était l'armée qui était responsable pour la trappe de sa bonne prisonnier. Alors, il n'y a pas quelque chose qui nous fait qu'introduire ça, nous régularisons à travers l'amendement 10e Constitution, et nous faisons ici pour dire, autant que nous au courant, les autres en bas commande la police, les autres font l'opération, et quelque chose devrait être masse d'une façon qui suivent commande.
So I would like to remind the Commission that even before our time, this was something that was already in place, whereby escaped convicts or prisoners, when they escaped, they would sought assistance from the military, and the military would be the ones responsible to locate and apprehend these prisoners, and this was already there. We just regulated what was already there through the 10th Amendment in the Constitution, whereby we stated also that when they go on these operations, they would fall under the command or responsibility of the police.
I think one of the issues that happen is that sometimes when you have these situations is that you have a low-ranking officer, police officer, and he's being assisted by a high-ranking military officer. And some witnesses have expressed that. So the difficulty is getting the low-ranking officer, trying to give order to a high-ranking military officer.
J'imagine ça est bonne contrainte qui opérationnelle, bonne contrainte opérationnelle. Mon pas jamais impliqué dans aucune planification opérationnelle. Ça que peut dire moi si il est cas, mon quoi il devrait être rectifié dans le sens que ça officiers qui veut donner commande, il y a besoin des officiers qui tout le monde peut écouter. Sinon, il n'est pas pour rendre ça l'opération effective.
I would like to think that what you are referring to is a complaint about the operational way of doing things, and I was never implicated in these sorts of operations, the planning of these operations. So I would think that if that is to be the case, that it needs to be rectified. It is something that needs to be rectified, whereby the officer that is in charge should be of a rank that would not complicate things.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the difficulty I think that we are having, and we hope that maybe you can assist us in understanding that, because remember, our role is to find out the facts, right? So the difficulty that we are experiencing, and we hope you can help us, is that we have different levels of police officers and prison guards as well, military officers, who have come here and said one thing, which is that whether we agree that this was a good policy of joint operations or not does not matter. But what we can tell you as a commission is that there were serious challenges with respect to coordination, including the challenge that he mentioned, that you could have a junior police officer being assigned to instruct a senior military officer, and that arrangement would practically on the ground not work. The military officer would not take instructions from the police officer. So we have all these people saying there were these challenges. Then we have the leadership of the police at that time saying, yes, these challenges, we saw them, we experienced them, and we reported them to the leadership. Then just yesterday, on the incident that we are investigating, a CID officer, senior CID officer, charged with the responsibility to investigate and establish what had happened at Montagne Posée prison, indicated that they experienced some challenges in getting witnesses from the military or the soldiers who had participated in the operation to cooperate with him, giving statements. And he reported to the police commissioner. The police commissioner went back and forth, but eventually, he says eventually they had to complete the investigation. But although he doesn't agree with us, right? But he had to complete the investigation, and the report doesn't answer basic questions about what happened at Montagne Posée. So what I'm saying is there are all these things that are being said by high-ranking government officials at the time. And you are saying you never heard these things.
Moi, pour répéter.
You never heard these complaints, I mean.
Dans mon niveau, je ne suis pas au courant pour dire qu'il y en a ça problème transmettre commande entre la police avec militaire. Moi, je ne suis pas au courant.
Repeat, on my level, I had never been made aware of any issue with regards to transmission of information from the police to the military and vice versa.
Et moi, je suis aussi content de dire que si ça est le cas, il pas devrait être le cas.
And I would like to say that if that's the case, it should not be the case.
Back to you. So you were done. Okay. If you were done, I have a few questions.
You going on the incident of other prison?
Yeah, please go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Afif, when were you made aware of the? I'm sure you were made aware. When did you become aware of the incident that happened at the prison?
Moi, honnêtement, je commence à mimration un peu l'autre après-midi. Mon crois jeudi.
I think it was a Thursday.
Le 5 décembre.
The 5th of
tu commences
December.
à social media, des gens commencent à dire, attendez pour dire un problème là-bas, prison, etc. Et vu que mon acting president à l'état, mon petit fait mon devoir, mon petit contacter commissionnaire la police pour me demander exactement quelle situation.
So I heard murmuring on the social media. People were saying that there was a problem at the Montagne Posée prison. So since I was the vice president at that time, I made it my objective for me to contact the commissioner of police to inquire about what was happening.
Et mon petit contacté lui, et puis le temps passé, c'est moi from memory, moi appelé un peu tard après-midi.
It was late in the afternoon
le
that
5
I
décembre
contacted him.
qui tu commences à un problème et mon patigan il commissionnaire la police mon sait contacter lui mon patigan il
I did not get in touch with him while I was trying to contact
mon
him.
l'autre
but,
contact c'était c'est la force défense à cause il y a aussi un mandat sécurité vu que ça tient issue sécurité dans le pays sécurité nationale
Point of contact was the chief of the defense force since he has a mandate also and this was something to do with the
et moi simplement demande lui si au courant s'il y a aucune chose qui peut passer
national security and I simply asked him if he was aware that there is a situation that was happening.
Et ici dit moi aussi il comprend pour dire une situation peut développer dans prison Montagne Posée mais il n'a pas plus l'information à ce moment.
He said that yes, he understood that there was a situation developing at the Montagne Posée prison, but he has no more information than that to give me.
Et ça qui montre qui t'écrit, c'est que les moments qu'ils ont aucune information qui nécessite mon attention, laisse-moi connaître. Par où connaître?
What I told him that the moment that they have any information that requires my attention to let me know, and as you know,
mon pas pour interférer dans l'opération militaire ou bien la police, mon pas jamais interférer, nous responsables au niveau policier.
I will never interfere in the operations of the police and military. I am only on a level of the policy.
So, c'était là qu'étudiait avec moi, il avait fait un suivi ensemble avec la police pour établir exactement qui peut arriver à 2 mois. Feedback.
That's when he said that he will inquire as well with the police, liaising with the police to find out what is happening to give me a feedback.
Did you ever contact the Commissioner of Prisons?
No.
No.
Mon parti en contact avec lui.
I was not in contact with her.
Since the situation was at the prison, don't you think there was a necessity that you contact the Commissioner of Prison to get an idea as to what was happening?
Mon parti gagne commission mon croit tiens emergency tous autres téléphones on connaît qui mais petit peu massé mon parti gagne contact et mon petit contacté c'est ça mon c'est contacté commissionnaire la police à cause mon connaît pour dire ça dit mon tin gagne secondé là-bas ça l'état mon croit tin gagne secondé mais tin fini gagne à pointer tin fini gagne à pointer mais
I did not get in touch with the commissioner of prison. I do not know what was going on since it was an emergency. What was going on with their phones at that time. That is why I was getting in touch with the commissioner of police because I believe that he was just appointed at that time in that post.
Et mon parti gagne tout. C'était là qui m'a
dit
CDF pour m'en gagner un petit peu d'information. Il y a aussi utilisé ce courant pour dire qu'il y a un développement qui arrive, mais il n'y a pas de détails.
When I called the CDF, and he also was simply just made aware that there was an incident happening and could not tell me more.
And CDF, you say you went to the CDF at Bello, I believe?
No, it's a phone call. So
it was a phone call.
Yeah. It was a phone call. I never went.
I
never met with him.
Okay. And did anybody later come to you to explain to you? Because as the president, you were exercising the functions of the president then. Did anybody come back to you? Because it was important, I feel, that somebody would come to you and say, look, that situation is developing or is getting worse. So this is what we have planned to do.
Pendant ça, la journée, les 5, c'est 10 soir, je n'ai pas gagné aucune les autres informations. Seulement, grand matin, définitivement avant 8 h au matin, si je ne me pas trompé, c'était CDF lui-même qui s'informe moi, à cause de dernière fois, je cause avec lui, il s'est dit, moi, il en a ça qui appelle un riot, côte prison, et il paraît, il en a blessé et cabana certains les autres du monde qui il y en a blessé il pas connaît s'il y en a la mort mais seulement il paraît qu'il y a un incident assez grave seulement ça qui les indirectement c'est qu'ils autres paient adresse ça bonne conseil
At around the 5th Thursday in the afternoon, going at night, I do not recall receiving any more information on the matter. It was, I think, the next morning, if I'm not mistaken, from the CDF, whereby he informed me that there had been a riot at the Montagne Posée prison and that there were people that were injured, some badly injured, that he was unsure if there was any death at that time, but that was the information that he gave me.
And as acting president at that time, don't you think, I mean, I'm not blaming you, don't you think that the other, like the police or the military, and even the prison, knowing that you are the acting president, then they should have kept you informed, at least on the 5th, as to what the development at the prison was?
Les situations idéales, oui. Oiseau devrait être seulement dans une situation emergency. Par contre, s'il y a une panique, si ça peut essayer de débrouiller son façon pour mettre la situation sous contrôle, moi, je peux gagner beaucoup plus l'information, other than que la situation peut gagner adressée.
In an ideal situation, I would say that yes, but in a state of emergency, I do not know if they were in a state of panic. Each of them were trying to be able to handle and find a solution to whatever that was going on. But what I can say is that I was only informed that the situation was being handled.
And after that information that was given to you, that everything was being handled, did you get any further feedback on what was happening?
Pas de suite. Mon appel, c'est un communiqué qui ministre des Affaires internes qui issue. Mon crois que c'est le 6 ça, ou bien le 7. Il issue un statement qui condamne bonne action, bonne atrocité, qui n'est capable d'arriver si aucune action criminalité plutôt, qui n'arrive qu'au prison. Il dit ils autres condamnent ça. Ils autres remercier toute la force qui nous aide pour remettre la situation en bas contrôle. Il aussi exprime condoléances sinon il n'y a aucun monde qui est blessé.
Not quick immediately, but I believe on the 6th or the 7th there was a statement that was issued condemning any act of criminality that was done at the prisons, and for congratulating the forces, also the police forces, for handling the matter and sympathizing with the family also that had lost their relatives.
And the minister then, that would be Mr. Fonseca. He was out of jurisdiction?
I believe he was out. Sorry,
he was out of the jurisdiction.
And when did he come back? Do you know?
Je n'ai pas l'information. C'est moi qui tourne pas trop loin avec après l'incident qui est arrivé. Tu peux essayer de faire des masses tourner.
Information, but I think he returned not too long after the incident happened. He was trying to make the necessary for him to return.
And subsequent to that, did you receive any other update of what was happening?
Non, je n'ai pas recevoir après ça à cause justement le président aussi tu peux rentrer dans le pays juste après ça. Et mon fonction comme président s'est arrêté.
Receive any more information after that, because just after that I think the president also was making arrangements to return in the country, and therefore my role as acting president was terminating.
Question. You have questions? You have questions? You have questions?
Yes. Maybe some follow-up question. One relates to, the point you made about contacting the police commissioner when you heard of the disturbances at the prison. I didn't quite understand or hear your answer about why you did not contact the commissioner of prisons.
Je demande qu'il ne faut pas comprendre moi, commissioner, moi si je sais contacter lui.
You did not, maybe you did not quite understood me, Mr. Commissioner. I said that I tried to get in touch with the commissioner.
So you attempted
On
to get in touch
I
with
tried.
C'est mon premier endroit par de l'information. Mon pas gagné.
It was the first place whereby I sought the information, but I did not get in touch.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that clarification. Then the second follow-up question that I have is in respect of the evidence that there are no cameras that work. So first, I'm not quite sure how familiar you are with the prison that we are talking about, its structure.
Pas trop.
Okay,
Not,
so maybe, and if I misrepresent anything, my colleagues here will correct me as well, because I've visited the prison only, I think, 7 times when we were doing the hearings there. So there are, I think, 2 main parts. There are cameras that are around the perimeter of the prison. Then there are cameras in the blocks. So the one we are talking about is the male block, which is where the male prisoners are accommodated. So the evidence we have is that the cameras in the male block, or at the male block, don't work, and they have not been working for years. And I'm just wondering whether this is something you came across.
Certainement, ça a un détail opérationnel. Moi, je ne sais pas, on n'a aucune connaissance de lequel caméra qui m'a assez, ou bien pas m'a assez.
This is an operational detail, and I never had any information about which particular sets of cameras was working or not working. This was on a security level.
And I wouldn't ask you this question, considering that you are the vice president. I wouldn't expect the vice president to know whether this place has cameras, this one doesn't have. But I'm asking this question because the prison is a strategic facility. So it's not just any other place. It's not a shopping place. It's a national key point. And then earlier on you had mentioned that one of the responsibilities you had was to oversee this department that deals with communication technology. And then I had also asked you a question earlier on about whether there was an audit to establish facilities that require digital security equipment and facilities that are adequately secured. And you had said yes, there was an audit. In some areas were found to be wanting, some areas were okay. So I'm anticipating that the prison should be one of the areas that should have been brought to your attention, that this place is not digitally secure.
Pourquoi ça qui m'a fait référence là, commissionnaire, c'était bon système informatique, pas bon système sécurité, par exemple, lesquelles caméras qui peut surveiller lesquels endroits.
What I was referring to was information system, not a camera system surveilling these particular areas.
Et ça servait que si quand il fait pas nous parti couvert lesquels endroits qui ont caméra, lesquels qui n'a pas. Ici peut regarder par exemple qui bon système qui différent l'organisation il y en a qui peut-être un hacker est capable d'entrer là-dedans, interférer avec, après un seul coup pays mettre en otage.
The survey that was done did not cover the aspect of cameras that these particular areas had, but mainly the system that these organizations had that can be or can prove to be susceptible to hackers hacking this system and can present a national security incident. So this was...
Je donne l'exemple, disons, un hacker est entré dans un système côté PUC. Et sa système, il contrôle générateur de
Just to give an
distribution.
example, for example, a hacker hacks into the system at the PUC, Public Utilities Corporation, and the system that is responsible for the generators.
Et un seul coup, pays entier n'a pas courant.
And all of a sudden, the whole country has no electricity.
Il y a un concern sécurité nationale.
It's a concern that has to do with the national security.
C'est moi nous pas aller au niveau pour guetter. Si un dimoun physiquement avec un caméra nous aller entre côté générateur.
We will not
Cause il n'est
go
plus sa qualité système menace qui nous a aujourd'hui.
to check to see if a person can be seen physically entering inside the room on the camera, because this is no longer the main national security issue that we are having.
Je donne l'autre dernier exemple.
Just to give a last example,
Un hacker est entré dans un système côté airport qui contrôle l'avion.
a hacker hacks into the system at the airport that controls airplanes.
Et tout, un seul coup, aucun avion n'est pas capable ni à poser, ni take off.
And all of a
Et on
sudden,
met le pays en otage, un seul coup.
no planes can land or take off, and the country is placed in a hostage situation.
C'était sa bonne qualité risque qui sa évaluation, tu peux faire.
These are the types of risk that the evaluation was being done for.
And I agree with your examples. They are real possibilities, because there are places where these things have happened. But would you also agree with me that your examples do not exclude the fact that there are other ways of harming or undermining national security, which involves physical intrusion, a human being moving into an area or intruding into an area?
Oui, absolument. Il y en a un risque. Les autres qualités risques incluent des gens qui peuvent mouvementer pour entrer dans l'endroit sans permission.
Yes, absolutely. There are other risks, including people that are moving around to enter into a place.
And probably intrusion into a place is the most basic threat. Then these other examples you are giving, if we were to draw a hierarchy, these other examples you are giving are more sophisticated. And therefore, you taking care of the more sophisticated risks does not mean you ignore the basic risks. So maybe when you look forward, when you look back, don't you think that survey you are talking about should have also incorporated the question whether national strategic facilities, national security facilities are equipped with the right technology, digital technology, that ensures that these facilities are secure?
Je suis tellement d'accord avec vous que ça deuxième risque qu'on mentionnait, il s'est aussi, mais peut-être terme référence, ça l'étude, pas tient clé ça. Je ne pas dire où il pas devrait être inclus, il pas devrait être en un tel l'étude, mais qu'il faut séparer parce que sa qualité du monde qui fait ça l'étude est différente avec ça. Le côté Haïti, avec ça qui get camera, les autres façons d'interférence physique, il y a l'autre aspect sécurité qui peut être un autre monde spécialisé de votre faire.
I agree with you that the second point that you mentioned, it poses a serious risk that is associated with that, and that, sorry, monsieur, if this is capable de répondre à terms of reference.
Mon petit peu dit, ça, terme référence, ça l'étude, qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Tu couvert plutôt, bon, soft interference, bon, hacking.
And
Côté concerne hard interference physique entre casser l'endroit, etc., qui est aussi une menace réelle, ça pas forme partie ça l'étude, mais il devrait former partie de l'étude par la sécurité pays lui-même.
The terms of reference that had to do with the studies that was conducted was only with regards to the software issues, but with regards to soft interference, with regards to hard interference whereby people would physically gain access to something, I believe that this also should be something that should be studied upon instead of only the soft aspect.
I was asking that question because we have received evidence and nobody has been able to rebut that evidence or to show that that evidence is false so far. But the cameras were not working inside the prison. And as a result, this is part of the reason why a lot of questions are so far unanswered regarding what happened at the prison. That's number one. But number two, it also just means that the prison facility is not adequately secured. And therefore, national security is not adequately secured. Because if you have a prison that does not have functional cameras, then a lot of things can happen. We have also received evidence which suggests that there is a lot of contraband that moves into the prison. And perhaps it's not necessarily because of this, but in the absence of this basic equipment like cameras, then it makes it difficult to deal with that particular problem. And I think you said you were not aware of this, and we wouldn't expect you as Vice President to know it. But the moment we have these bigger problems, like threats of riots, contrabands, then the expectation is that the leadership of the government should be seized with those issues and say, why is this happening? And if they start inquiring on why is this happening, they will naturally, or they should naturally find out that there is no basic equipment at the prison. So that's where I was coming from with that question. Yes.
Are you going to answer to him?
Juste un petit commentaire. Moi, je suis d'accord avec vous, commissionnaire Lola. Et moi, quoi, nous aussi, certainement, de mon niveau, moi, je suis au courant pour dire prison, il y a un problème. Il y a un problème d'eau qui peut entrer, il y a une irrégularité qui peut passer là-bas. Il y a une bonne qui encore nous appelle ça maboulouk qui passe côté prison.
I entirely agree with you, Commissioner, that there are indeed a lot of things that is going on in the prison, drug dealings in the prison, and a term in Creole that we would say that.
Look, I don't know the English term.
Sort of illicit activities.
Illicit, okay.
Yes.
Et moi, crois, si vous regardez l'histoire, ce qui est passé, c'est justement il y a un changement au niveau management prison dans nous les temps. Et simplement avec les billes, pour un nouveau monde qui peut-être regarde ça d'une différentes façons et emmène solution justement pour adresser bon conseil.
And if you look at the history, that is because there has been change in the management system of the prison, and maybe we could have a management system in place that would look into those situations.
So, am I right in saying that you were never made aware by the prison authorities, or you didn't come across anybody coming to the government and saying, these are the issues that we have at the prison and that they should be addressed?
Indirectly, yes. Indirectement, oui, à cause si tout là, il vient budget, si c'est budget. Souvent, fois prison, il vient avec beaucoup de demandes.
When it comes to the issue of budget, because prison has a lot of demands.
Et moi, comme vice-président, mon parti ministre finance pendant entier ça l'état.
And as vice president, I was not the minister for finance during those period of time.
For the entire period.
For the entire period.
Mais seulement, comme vice-président, même que mon parti ministre finance, mon au courant bonne contrainte qu'ils ont pu faire face avec.
As vice president, even if I was not the minister, I was aware of the constraints that they were going through.
Mais nous pas tout le temps en ressources pour adresser concerne tout le monde inclus prison.
And we did not always have the resources to address the concerns of everyone.
but I'm still there. Sorry to stay on the issue of the camera. So 2 points that I want to check if we agree, or we. So I think it's an understandable constraint that governments are resource constrained. They don't have the money to do everything, but the basics must be there, isn't it? So I'm just trying to think about, and I understand you were not responsible for finance, but then the challenge is you commented on it and sort of justified it. So you placed yourself in the middle. So we have to ask you questions now. Would it be a reasonable position to take and say we don't have enough resources, and therefore it's okay not to repair cameras at the prison, and probably the biggest prison?
Non, moi crois il parti pour OK pour dire quelque chose comme ça. Ça qui nous tout le temps fait, c'est nous mettre une somme l'argent disponible pour eux et nous demandons eux pour prioriser ça qui eux croient est plus important que la sécurité et nous respecter eux pour mettre si caméra par exemple quelque chose d'important eux pour mettre ça comme une priorité.
No, I do not think that it would be okay to say something like that. What we usually do, we would give them a sum of money, and to ask them to prioritize the areas whereby this money could be used for. If they would see that there's a need for new camera system, then they would use that money for that, according to their priority.
Okay. Well,
one thing is that the budget, okay, you're talking about the budget. Normally you have different votes for specific things in the budget. Was there any time that in the prison budget there was a vote or there was request for a vote for for cameras or anything to do with security?
Moi pas beaucoup ça à cause ça type tombe ba ministre finance ça l'état ou bien son bon officier qui pas mon pas pour certainement on a ça détail. Moi connais autres demande quantité quelque chose qu'ils ont besoin mais c'est pas tout le temps qui ressources disponible.
Aware of that would be the minister or his officers when that would be presented, but I am aware that a lot of things was asked.
Et moi je content ajouter pour dire il y a certaines choses qui nous adressé qui concernent la sécurité. Par exemple, j'ai besoin plus transport pour l'amener bon prisonniers parfois les autres déplacés. Si vous pas déplacer d'une façon qu'il y en a sécurité, il vient un problème, d'autres cas sauver ou bien les autres problèmes arriver. Et nous aider pour les autres gagner plus transport pour faire ça. So, nous autant que nous sommes capables, nous savons faire les ressources disponibles pour les autres capables de faire les autres opérations. Mais c'est vraiment nous tout le temps qui avons une décision finale, ressources, nous disons qui quantité dans l'enveloppe et c'est à eux pour les autres priorités, les autres dépenses.
We assisted them. I know that, for example, at one point they asked that they be supplied with more vehicles to help them in the movement of the prisoners, to provide more security while doing so, because while the prisoners are being moved, there needs to be security. So we assisted them in that to the best of our ability at that time for the required purposes. But in the end, like I explained, there is the sum of money that we give them and they prioritize how to spend it.
Moi donner l'autre exemple que nous essayons encore pour adresser à issue sécurité, c'est que nous fait un endroit qui s'appelle high security.
And just to give another example about the issue of security, we constructed a place called high security.
Et mon quoi, infini pareil, mon magazine, autres peut servir. Nous aussi fait l'autre facilité, remand facilité. À cause avant, tu prends un remand, tu mélanges ensemble avec prisonniers. Ça partie idéal ça. Et conséquemment, nous mettons l'argent de côté pour faire remand, bien séparé. High security vient séparé. Ça réduit le risque à cause de sa bonne qualité de prisonnier qui est capable d'influencer bonne activité légale, il gagne éloigné avec tout le reste en prisonnier.
And I think the high security facility is already in place. I don't know if they are using it. We also did the remand facility, which helped to remove the remandees, which before that was mixed with the convicts. And this also helped to reduce the risk of other inmates, high-risk inmates, influencing for illicit activities in the prison, influencing the other inmates.
So, Commissioner, nous faisons tout ça que nous sommes capables pour réduire le risque.
So, Commissioner, we did everything that we could to reduce the risk that were there.
Yep. No, we take the point, and our point is not that you didn't do anything. Okay. Our point is that in respect of the incident that we are investigating, one of the basic equipment which seemed not to be in place was cameras, and I think that's a big thing that we cannot ignore. But this second point, because I had said that was the first, the second follow-up question I had connected to cameras is that I do understand that you were not in charge of finances and budget, and I only asked you questions with respect to budget because you had placed yourself in a situation where you were defending certain things, right? But let's go to the area where you, on your own version, you were assigned some duties, which is the Department of Information, Communication and Technology. And I just want to check if we are of the same view here about the relevance of cameras for communication and technology. Because do you agree that before you have data which you can put into a software and then process, analyze, and then say we want to protect this data, cameras play an important role in generating that data in the first place? Do you agree about that?
Pas sûr si caméra joue un rôle pour masser l'information.
I'm not sure if the camera plays a role to pick up information.
Qui parle d'un système.
That will go in a system.
À moins que sa caméra est fitted avec bon AI facilities.
Unless the
qui est capable de convertir ça que voit, sa visual image, into data qui a prévu l'information.
It's fitted with AI features that is able to convert the image that you see into data, information collected.
I accept that the field of AI is something that all of us are still trying to grapple with, to understand. But one thing we now know is that cameras, they talk about smart cities. So cameras are fitted with capabilities to recognize the face, right? And that image is fed into the system. And then it is the algorithms in the system which then can tell us who this person was. So the camera just takes the image. Then the system is able to tell us that the image of this person is Mr. John. Right? Is that something we agree on? We have the same understanding on that.
Oui.
Yeah.
Non, même compréhension, mais seulement mon c'est un système sophistiqué, il n'a pas beaucoup d'endroits qui en ont ça. Sauf, il me connaît airport, là où arriver, il reconnaît tout faux porte, il les sous-passer de suite. Mais c'est pas beaucoup, ça un système, parce que c'est, et mon pas connaît si prison, tu as un tel système.
Yes, we are on the same page, and I think that we do not have that much of these systems available. Yeah. It's sophisticated and expensive. I believe at the airport, I think it has, but I do not think that the prison had that system.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking this question, former Vice President, is that if the Department of Information and Technology, Communication and Technology, is responsible for policy making to ensure that adequate data is gathered, is protected, is processed efficiently, then that department has a responsibility to make sure that they come up with a policy which ensures that the entire ecosystem or the equipment that is needed for the entire ecosystem is procured. So perhaps starting with the camera. That's what I'm saying. Starting with the camera, because then we can talk about how to protect the data to avoid hacking and so forth. But we start with the camera. So this issue of the camera, this is how the issue of the prison camera is relevant for this department. So maybe when we look back now, because part of what we are also trying to do is to make sure that we correct the system and strengthen the system. So when we look back, do you agree that part of the policy which this department was putting together should have done an audit to establish whether the strategic facilities of this country have all the equipment that is needed to collect data, to process data, and to protect data?
Oui, moi crois si pour nous capables d'un audit pas juste prison mais beaucoup les autres choses inclut la banque, inclut l'endroit que dit mon servi, il y a une quantité d'informations, trafic par exemple qui peut passer dans l'offense trafic si on a une caméra sophistiquée qui a pixel auto qui connaît pour dire ça numéro l'auto il pas un numéro qui valide le semaine. Tout ça, bonne quelque chose, nous capables faire, mais une question ressources.
I think that yes, for example, it could be used in areas such as the bank, places people use, and especially information relating to traffic offenses, cameras that are able to pick up plate numbers, license plate numbers, and I just think that the only issue is with regards to resources.
Je suis entièrement d'accord avec ce que vous pouvez proposer. Je crois que pour une solution idéale, mais nous ne pas vivre dans le monde idéal.
I entirely agree with what you are proposing. I believe that it would be very ideal, but we do not live in an ideal world.
Perhaps maybe not ideal, but necessary. I'm saying this because you have an obligation as a government to protect not just national security, but also the rights of the persons who live inside the prison. I'm deliberately avoiding just saying prisoners because the guards also live there. So by not having this basic equipment, it might mean that we are leaving a lot of people security and their rights in jeopardy. So in that case, it is not ideal. It is necessary. We can debate about, why that necessity was not met, but at least we can agree that it's a necessity. It's not an ideal situation. But the issue then, former Vice President, is that you talked about an audit that took place. And I guess that's where my attention is at. The audit that was done to establish, basically it's a needs assessment to establish what the digital communication technology needs are in different areas or strategic facilities. And if I heard you correctly, this issue about the lack of digital security equipment like cameras at this prison is not something that was picked up. And for me, that does not sound like a resource constraint issue. It looks like an oversight.
Non, je crois, commissionnaire, ça qui l'étude type OD, c'est un gros risque principal qui est capable de paralyser le pays.
I believe that what the studies was looking for was big risk, principal risk that can paralyze a country.
Okay. I think you had explained that. No, that's fine. I think I don't have any further questions at this point. Commissioner Takant?
Former VP, my question to you is, I understand that you were invited to participate in the Defense Forces Council meetings whenever they took place. And having listened to Captain Anil Bristol this morning, he confirmed that you being the second in command when the Commander-in-Chief is not in the country, so it is your responsibility to oversee what happens in the country, which I agree and you agree. Yeah. Now, don't you think it was very bad that you, as the deputy, now we call you the deputy commander-in-chief now, because he's not there, okay? That nobody in the defense forces or the police or anyone informs you of what is going on at the prison, which is it's a big security problem in the country at that time. And you are not involved, or you are not called to be made aware of what is going on. You only learn this on the social media. Do you think this is normal?
Non. Mon croit pour dire nous devons avoir un système qui plus alerte.
I think that we need to have a system that is more alert.
Mais seulement, moi, comme on gagne l'information, qui y en a un certain niveau de disturbance qui peut arriver, mon réagit là de suite. Et là, mon réussi gagne un officier qui donne l'information qui y a une situation peut développer, je t'en ai lisé là. Et mon croit pas correct pour dire pas de moi aucun feedback. So ti donne moi feedback.
As soon as I received the information that there is a disturbance, I called the officer, an officer, and I got in touch with an officer, and I would not say that they did not give me a feedback, because I did get a feedback informing me that there is a situation.
Yeah, I agree with what you say. But for me, it is not normal that if it was me, I would have looked for you before I speak to anybody else. My commander, this is what is happening. So what do you advise? You would tell me something and I would tell you something, so we would organize it together so that we move forward. But receiving information after you try to get information, this is what I don't think it's correct.
Oui, il pas une situation idéale, mon entièrement d'accord avec vous.
Yes, I entirely agree that it's not an ideal situation.
Éventuellement, mon gagne ça l'information, mon fait mon devoir pour mon gagner ça l'information, et l'information qu'ils ont donné c'est correct.
But eventually I made it my duty to seek that information, and the information that I received was the correct one.
Now, so after the incident, obviously there should have been a post-mortem meeting that took place and whatever it is. Did you bring this to the attention of those people that, you people did not contact me and you just left me unaware? If I didn't look at my telephone, I would not have known. Did you try and flag this to them to make them aware that,
Mon pas joindre avec les autres membres la force défense. La capacité comme commandant en chef pour moi cause exote.
I do not meet with the other members of the defense forces in the capacity of the commander to talk to them.
Mon brief président. Les tourner, mon dit tout ban quelque chose qui n'arrivé côté na défaillance, moi explique lui et m'assurer aussi comprend et il y avait adressé sa bonne situation.
the president about any situation that has unraveled the development of the situation, and I trust that he will address those situations.
Okay. You see, I value that Mr. Afif, as the vice president of the country, you had a lot of responsibilities, and you were, I would say, very busy dealing with things that, that you were meant to be dealing with. Having seen what happened at the prison and the difficulties that led to such incident, were you ever made aware, or was the Cabinet of Ministers ever made aware by Minister Fonseca, who was the Minister for Internal Affairs, to try and draw your attention to the difficulties that the prison were facing? Was this made aware to the Cabinet so that, maybe certain measures could be taken?
Oui, définitivement. Conseil des ministres, in des agents met au courant une difficulté qui tout département, inclus prison, il fait face avec.
Definitely, the ministers has been made aware and about the different issues that is happening, and even the different departments of the prison also, including the authority of the prison as well.
Mais seulement, Conseil des ministres, il simplement c'est une meilleure solution à travers le ministère des Finances, spécialement, pour capable aider résoudre un problème à cause de la quantité de ce problème. Il y a à la base un problème financier à la base.
But the ministers would seek a remedy to these issues through the Ministry of Finance, because most of the time the root of all these problems is financial.
Et pas juste financier, il y a aussi ressources humaines, capacité technique.
Not only financial,
but ça l'opération. Tout ça là, c'est un vrai problème qui nous fait face avec.
Capacity, techniques, and all of these are the main issues that we are facing.
Were you ever given any explanations why those illicit activities were happening at the prison? Either in meetings or in conversation with the minister, were those illicit activities ever made aware to you what was happening and why they were happening?
C'est quelque chose qui m'ont rappelé dans différentes discussions, pas une discussion spécifique, mais seulement dans différentes situations qui ont développé. Et si tout côté concerne prison, c'est sa prison lui-même, il y a une quantité de défaillance dans la façon lui-même son bâtiment il était, la façon il est construit. On n'est pas expert, c'est ça qui m'a entendu. Et contrôle, il y a toujours un problème. Et contrôle, il vient à travers du monde, intégrité du monde, et aussi vient à travers facilité. Et son situation lui-même pas idéale la façon dont il était.
The only thing that I recall is that the different discussions that we had about these issues in particular, and about those discussions is that the prison itself has a lot of weaknesses, and weaknesses in terms of the building itself, the way it has been constructed, and control. And the issue with control, it has to do with the people, the type of people, integrity of the people that you have running that place or working there. And this is the weaknesses that has been there all along.
Quelquefois, on va ajouter, à part d'intégrité, la quantité de monde qui wana.
And also to add,
qualité de monde, training qui wana. Pas juste intégrité. Training qui est autant.
Integrity, type of people, quality, the type of training that they had received. This also.
No, I agree with you, because I've been through the training plan that was carried out at the prison, So much training was given to the people. The question now is, did they understand what they were taught? If yes or no, we don't seem to find any body, when I'm saying body, any establishment, that was supposed to monitor what they have learned in order to carry out their jobs. It was non-existent. We didn't find it. So which means that training could have been done and no one was interested in doing anything. They just sat there, and maybe this was the problem, as you are mentioning.
C'est possible. Et si ça est le cas, il y a une situation qui est développée pendant plusieurs années. Nous faisons ça dans 5 ans.
Possible, and if that is the case, it's a situation that has been developing for a lot of years, many years, and something that I just came across during the past 5 years.
And two last questions, former VP. You know, there was an organization called the Prison Board that was functioning at the prison. And obviously the prison board goes to the prison uninvited. They don't even let you know, they just arrive, and they've got all the laissez-passer of going inside the prison to talk to anyone that is inside the prison, the guards, the inmates, or whoever. And obviously, I suppose they have carried out certain works up there. Have you ever come across any prison board feedbacks or their reports or whatever they wrote?
Malheureusement, je n'ai pas lu aucun rapport.
Unfortunately, I did not read any of these reports.
Pas de gouvernement à mon niveau. Mon magazine, un gouvernement à niveau gouvernement, par exemple, ministre des Affaires internes. Mon magazine, ça arrive là-bas.
To my level,
pas à mon niveau.
I would think that it has been brought on the level of internal affairs, but not to my level.
Okay, my last question, VP, is you said you saw this incident on your phone, on social media. You questioned a few officers, those ones that you could not reach, and finally you got Mr. Posée. As the person in charge of the country on the day, did you inform the president about what was going on?
Oui.
Yes.
Moi, j'informe le président. Je crois que après que moi, j'ai gagné l'information de M. Posée, qui est au courant, il y a une situation peut développer, moi, j'informe le président.
Yes, I informed the president after receiving the information from Mr. Posée if he was aware that there is a situation developing.
Moi, je dis, on n'a pas beaucoup plus d'informations, sauf qu'il peut développer et l'autorité concernée peut adresser ça.
I said that I do not have more information about the situation that is developing and that the authority responsible for these issues are currently taking up the matter.
Okay. But what did the Commander-in-Chief tell you? What instructions probably did he give you as his 2IC in the country?
Il n'y a pas aucune directive. Il dit, moi, continue à surveiller, laisse-le au courant. L'autorité prison, contre les l'ouvrage, s'il n'y a aucun riot, si vous avez besoin d'assistance, c'est que la police, vous a fait, vous a de façon pour vous mettre la situation sous contrôle. Seulement, juste surveiller, regarde la situation et faire les connaître.
Tell me anything specific on need to
survey
the situation to see if there is anything to report to him that the respective authorities would take up the matter if need be. The prison authority will seek assistance from them or need to look over the situation and to report to him in case of anything.
À cause de mon magazine, pareillement, nous n'avons pas pu interférer dans l'opération. Et nous avons une autorité qui est un dirigeant dans la police, surtout, et coup de prison, qui conduit l'ouvrage, qui est employé pour ça, par exemple, dire dans notre bord, dans notre façon de faire, quelque chose. Et nous faisons autre confiance pour faire ce travail.
I would not interfere in the performance of the duties of the specific authorities. We have specific authorities in place responsible for dealing with this situation. They know what they have to do, and that they will do what they have to do. And
would you know if the Commander-in-Chief contacted any units in the forces to send them there? Because maybe you have heard there was a testimony that was said here, and that person said that the Commander-in-Chief informed her that yes, he had given orders for the military to go and work in this operation, and then that what happened there, he never thought this would have happened.
Non, on pas au courant de sa conversation, s'il interfère d'aucune façon.
No, I am unaware of that conversation if he interfered in any way.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Doesn't look like there is any further question for you. So, so first, thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed Afif, for honoring the invitation to come and speak to us. I would like to remind you of one of your rights, like we do for every witness who appear before us. We look at all witnesses through the same lens. They are all equal to us. Different needs, different vulnerabilities, but they have the same rights. So so despite that you are the former vice president, we still have to reiterate these rights for you. So one right is that you have a right not to be victimized in any way by anyone as a retribution for your testimony this afternoon, or for any cooperation you might render to the commission. Your family or anyone who is close to you shall also not be victimized as a retribution for your cooperation with the commission. Should anything like that happen, we encourage you to report to the commission through the secretary, so that the commission may take action. It is a criminal offense for anyone to do that, including interrogating you on any of the statements that you have made this afternoon. If anyone has contrary evidence that they might want to give to challenge what you have said, they must request for such an opportunity, and the commission will provide such an opportunity for them to give the evidence that they think can challenge what you have said. Otherwise, I don't think he has any confidential information he said he wants to give. So I think this is the end of the testimony. But maybe before we end, when is the next? We were supposed to start the next one at 3, so today we are running behind time. I think the commissioners have not had lunch. So let's allow them a 30 minutes break, and then we start at 4. Okay, we start at 3:45, 4 p.m. Yeah, let's start at 4 p.m. so that at least we allow a break to have lunch. Otherwise, thank you very much, and maybe you can, they normally request us to remain seated until they terminate.